Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much. So when I got the invitation that I was going to be a speaker at TEDxFCEZaria, I was quite surprised because in my little mind, I was telling myself, but I'm still a young man, I'm still a student, I don't have my life perfectly together. Why are they calling me to come and be a motivational speaker to people like me? But again, another mind told me, he said, you are not invited because you are perfect. You are invited because you are here to share knowledge and to also learn from other people. So I present myself to you here as someone who has come to share knowledge and someone who has also come to learn from you people. Please follow me as I carry on through my topic, which is the power of perception. Okay. Can we have the first slide, please? The first slide, please. Sorry, please just bear with them. We're having a technical issue. Okay, so thank you very much. Perceptions presented TEDx conference FCEZaria on the 15th of January 2022. What do you define by perception? When the word perception is spoken to you, what do you understand by it? In my own simple definition, perception is the interpretation of a situation. Perception is created by a certain action or activity or behavior. Oftentimes, the person creating the perception may not know, and the person interpreting may do so on the basis of preconceived idea or notion, which can be either positive or negative. When I come here to speak to you, what is your perception about me? You are in FCEZaria as a student. What is your perception about your educational background in this school? Do you see it in a positive manner or do you see it in a negative manner? I also want to also quote one or two people who have given a definition about perception. The first, Mufti Ismail Mink, he said, we can't control other people's perception of us, but what we can do is gain control over our thoughts. Doing so will allow us to add value to our life and build meaningful bonds with those around us. In other words, I can't come to you and tell you this is how you should think about me, but I can add value to my life. I can add experience to my life. I can behave myself in such a manner that will make you want to associate with me, will make you want to draw closer to me, will make you want to become my friend. That perception in which I've given you that attracts me or attracts you to me is a positive perfection. If I have a behavior that is irritating, that is unbearable, that cannot be tolerated, inferior when they come close to you, people are going to have a negative perception about you. So behavior is a very important tool in shaping people's perception about you. Another quote again is from Tony Robbins. He says, to effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different in a way we perceive the world, and use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others. We are all different. We have different backgrounds, different experiences. If you bring your experience to play and it is affected by your emotions and it affects the way you relate with people, if you don't relate with them or if you don't treat them well, you have given a negative perception about yourself. If you treat them well, you have given a positive impression about yourself. Denzel Washington says, perception starts at the moment you open your eyes in the morning. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success. You have to take the risks. If you don't fail, you have never tried. To get something you never had, you have got to do something you never did. Right from the moment you wake up on a new day, the moment you open your eyes, you have a perception of the world. Your responsibility as a human is to go into the world, add value to the world, find a way in which you can be responsible to the society, act and plan on what you wish to achieve, come back, evaluate and see which steps you have missed and which steps you have gotten right, and use it to improve yourself the next day. What does perception do? I'll read through this briefly. Perception influences people's actions and reactions towards it. If the people's perception about you is positive, then often you get a positive remark. In leadership and governance, those in political offices, those in public offices, perception is important. Those in such positions of leadership should develop a template for managing perception devoid of propaganda and fallacy. And this template should consist of the following: what signal their actions are sending, what signals should their actions send, and what signal is it sending. If you are in a position of leadership, if the entire populace or majority of the populace perceive that you are a good leader, that you are delivering on the dividends of democracy, that you are running an organization that is committed towards development of the people and of the entire environment where you work, it is going to be possible for the it's going to be positive in terms of the way they look at you. But if the people have a fear, if the people have a judgment that you are being unfair to them, you are being biased, you exclude, the perception about you is going to be negative. So perception also deals with your mindfulness towards treating other people, treating your job, treating your activities, implementing lifetime goals or achievements that will be generally accepted by all and benefit all. To those who are public analysts or interpreters, they should also develop a template to use, such as: what is the reason for the interpretation? Is it influenced by a previous knowledge or a consistent behavior? Is it a fair assessment? For example, you're a journalist and you are reporting on a disease outbreak in Zaria. You have to critically evaluate and see the facts surrounding what is happening in the outbreak of this disease. Is it influenced by natural causes or human activities? You also check and see, are you judging this case of this outbreak based on your already established knowledge about the situation? E.g., if you are a student as well, and there's a new course that you are going to face in your next level, and everybody is saying that course is very difficult, it's very hard to pass, this lecturer is very difficult, do you judge that course based on what other people are saying, or you judge the course based on your preparation to face that class, pass that exams? Your perceptions should be critical. It shouldn't be preconceived. It should be experienced before you bring out an outcome or a result. An example again is the perceptions of Nigerians about the COVID vaccines. Next slide, please. When coronavirus or COVID-19 came out, what was the perception of Nigerians during the COVID virus outbreak, and what was their perception when government said we were going to give out vaccines? I'm sure everybody could bear with me that there was a lot of propaganda that this vaccine should not be received, is evil, is this, yes or no? Exactly. So that was the perceptions, or that was the perception that Nigerians had about the COVID vaccines. Please, who is on the slide? Next page, please. Exactly. So there was a lot of refusal. This is a picture to illustrate how so many people felt. They said, no, we are not going to receive this vaccine. Subsequently, the Ministry of Health embarked on public sensitizations about the benefits of taking these COVID vaccines. It was even shown on TV how presidential aides were taking these jabs of the COVID vaccines. And immediately it was on news that even the president, the SGF, the Minister of Health are all collecting the vaccines. Tension began to calm down because the people had perceived that if the president can take this vaccine and nothing happens to him, it means we are all safe. So let's go on and take the vaccine. That is how perception can shape people's idea or concept about a situation. What are the senses of perception? We have 5 basic senses in the human body, which is the sense of sight, the sense of sound, the sense of taste, the sense of touch. These organs are what you use to provide an analysis for your perception. If you are often influenced by what you see, you always have a perception from what you see. If you are often influenced by what you hear, you always have your perceptions or your assumptions from what you hear. So whichever organ you are using to understand a perception, you should understand very well that this is supposed to guide you in giving a fair thought about whatsoever you are analyzing. The power of perception. Circumstances in life may differ, but mastering the ability to pull yourself back from a situation or emotion and see things from a different perspective, belief system, and thought process will make one understand the power of perception. Please, can you go on, please? So we're talking about perception as a tool in motivating yourself. How do you view life? This here is a picture of Victor Osimhen. No. Go. Up. Okay, so this is a picture of Victor Osimhen. He's a national and international footballer. He plays for the Super Eagles and he also plays for Napoli. 6 years ago, Victor was selling newspapers in Lagos. Normally, one would have assumed that he was never going to have a future. But his perception of life was different. Alongside when he was selling his newspapers, he was also training, building his skills in football. So when the opportunity came for him to be screened and get the invitation to play in an international team, he was prepared. He didn't view life in a negative point of view and say, I'm the newspaper seller, I can never make anything in life. let me just stick to this. Who knows, maybe one day from selling 100 newspapers in a day, I'll start selling 1,000 and I'll make money. No. He was also adding value to himself. So how do you view your circumstance now? Do you view yourself as just an ordinary student, maybe from an average background, who is aiming to graduate and get a job and depend on salary till the end of your life? Do you view yourself as the only hope of your family, so you can't afford to fail them? Hence, day and night, you are trying as much as possible to read and excel in your studies. How do you view your life? This is a success story of someone who was selling newspaper and is now an international player and is also a millionaire. So you should always view life with a positive point of view and also a realistic point of view. Life should not discourage you. You may not have sufficient support in what you do, but you should always stay motivated that you are going to see to the end of it that you achieve and you succeed in whatsoever you do. It doesn't matter how difficult or hard your circumstances are. What matters most is what you put your mind to do. I saw a quote that says, if you tell yourself you are going to clean a house in 30 days, you end up cleaning that house in 30 days. I think it was Elon Musk. If you tell yourself you are going to clean a house in 3 days, you eventually clean that house in 3 days. So you have to be prepared for what you do. Next picture. Exactly. So this is Ezra Olubi. Shola and Ezra Olubi. They developed an application that deals with wholesales, restock, something like Jumia. So it's a tech company. These guys here are from Nigeria. They sold their company recently for $200 million. Nigerians from the slum that don't have apparatus for making it, that possibly were overlooked and said these guys can never emerge with something good. They didn't allow the environment shape them. They push further. They strive. They work together as a corporation. They're able to develop a framework or an application which became in high demand, and a foreign company, Stripe, bought their company for $200 million. That is about 100 billion naira for just creating an application. That is the perception they had about life, that they are going to put in their best to bring out what they could bring out and become the best of themselves.